You know, with how the gaming industry is currently collapsing before our very eyes and everything is on fire and there's poor decision after poor decision being made from across just all corners, there is one little spark, one little glimmer of hope that continues to keep me invested in gaming, and that's Nintendo's insistence on making just good games. At the beginning of this year, I released a video titled, "Nintendo Ain't Looking So Hot." It's really funny to look back on that in hindsight because, man, Nintendo has been on one hell of a hot streak this year. Okay, well, let me put it, a warm streak. They've been on a very comfortable warm streak. Let me put it that way. Month after month, Nintendo has been releasing consistently good content. Whether it's games or DLC or Switch 2 editions for the most part. They've kind of been killing it. I don't regret anything I said in that video. I don't consider myself to be wrong in how I felt about things at the time, because I still stand by that. The kinds of games that Nintendo has been releasing this year aren't necessarily typically the kinds of games that get me that excited, you know? Stuff like Yoshi's Funny Book, and Pokopia, and Tomodachi, and Mario Tennis. Tomodachi and Pokopia, I kinda knew they wouldn't be games that I'd be super into, but Yoshi and Mario Tennis, like, I don't know, I've just never been the biggest Yoshi guy, and they haven't really released a Mario sports game that I've enjoyed in quite some time. Both of those games really surprised me this year, I gotta say. Excellent stuff. Pokopia, despite it not being a game that I'm all that interested in, still came out, still took the world by storm. A lot of people really seem to enjoy it, and that's fucking awesome. Same with Tomodachi. I saw lots of posts about it. After that came out, people sharing all their funny little critters on their islands. Again, not really my cup of tea, but that's totally fine. That Mario Wonder DLC actually turned out to be really good, had a great time with that. Star Fox, despite it being yet another Star Fox 64 remake, it's still a good game. Star Fox 64 is a good game, and this was a good remake of Star Fox 64. It was fun. I still enjoyed it, despite my gripes, okay? Despite feeling like it was an unnecessary remake, it was still a good game, and it was still fun, and like realistically, I guess that's all that matters. And now we have Splatoon Raiders. It's just another home run right there. This is an excellent game. Very addictive gameplay loop. Just getting your Inkling all beefed up and then just blasting through hordes and waves of enemies and watching all those salmon eggs go. It's like, oh, that is satisfying. Ooh. Now this one here, this Ocarina of Time thing, isn't something that I've touched on too much, and it's because, well, my feelings about it are kinda just, you know, somewhere in the ballpark of Star Fox 64 to an extent. Maybe not quite the same extent. It's a game that's already been remade. I don't necessarily think it needed to be remade again. And I'll admit, I'm not really the biggest Zelda guy either. I've played a good handful of the games, and I enjoy them a fair bit. Currently, I'm not, like, super interested in it, but I do need to see more. They haven't really shown much of it yet. There's a decent chance that I'll end up picking it up anyway later this year. So, I don't know, man. What can I say? Like, not everything that Nintendo has released this year has been like, you know, some of their craziest work necessarily. I don't think I would put anything from this year on the same level of like Donkey Kong Bonanza or like a 3D Mario or a big Zelda game or anything like that necessarily, but that's honestly still okay. Again, this has been almost nearly every month this year. They've been releasing games from anywhere just from good to great. And I think that this is just why I continue to stick with Nintendo despite their ups and downs. And don't get me wrong, I don't need to... I know this video is gonna come across like I'm just glazing the fuck out of them. Not necessarily my intention here, but I do just keep... The reason I'm making this video is because I just kind of want to express that while the rest of the game industry is still just totally obsessed with trend chasing and cinematics and movie-like stories and all that kind of stuff, Nintendo is still over here just being Nintendo and just making games. Making games that are fun to play. They don't have the most cutting-edge graphics and visuals and storytelling in the industry, but as I get older, I'm finding that I appreciate that more and more, because I feel like that's kind of being de-emphasized in a lot of ways when it comes to gaming nowadays. So many many of these other companies, again, just chasing the most cutting edge graphics and all that kind of stuff. And man, I don't know, man, that kind of stuff has totally plateaued now, okay? I appreciate Nintendo's emphasis on gameplay. That just being the driving force, the driving factor for why they make games. They just make these creative, fun little experiences that you can't get anywhere else. And I don't know, man, I'm finding that I miss that aspect of gaming more and more. Not to say that there aren't games out there doing that, don't get me wrong, but Nintendo's consistency is totally unmatched from anywhere else in the industry. I've been waiting for them to let up at some point, and like, they just haven't. There have been, you know, some slight misfires here and there, okay? Metroid Prime 4 was not good. I heard that the Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch 2 edition was also pretty rough around the edges, but I think their track record is still, like, you know, they're still doing pretty good. I saw people talking about on Twitter the other day how, like, they're just kind of batting 80s right now. They're swinging somewhere in the 80 range for a lot of their recent releases, and like, people are trying to make that out like it's a bad thing, but I'm like, dude, these games that are scoring 80s right now are still a ton of fun. Star Fox, Splatoon, like, call me crazy, but I would take that any day over some of the rest of the slop that's being shoveled out. Nintendo insistence on being weird and different is still why I continue to admire them to an extent to this day, you know what I mean? Like, Nintendo is the only company that would have ever considered bringing something like Kirby Air Ride back, okay? Any other company that released that back in the day, back in, what was it, 2004 or something like that, that's where it would have stayed. It would have been a time capsule. It probably never would have gotten re-released, never would have gotten a sequel. Well, they did it. Granted, Sakurai was probably the major driving force behind that decision. I know they like to say that somebody at Nintendo approached Sakurai to make this, but I think that was a cover story. I think Sakurai wanted to do it, but they let him. They let him, and they did it, and they even made amiibos. Fucking expensive amiibos, but they made amiibos. Not that I think that Nintendo needs the glaze, I mean, you know, but I think there is definitely something to be said about the level of consistency they have had in their releases and the quality of said releases. It's just mad impressive, you know. You look over at someone like PlayStation and they're releasing like a game every couple of years if we're lucky, because, well, they spent the entire generation chasing the live service trend and ended up having to cancel about a dozen games that are just never going to see the light of day because they were all live service games. Brilliant work over there, Sony and PlayStation. Excellent. And then you get your Marvel games, and then, I don't know, that's kind of it, I guess, over there at PlayStation. But here at Nintendo, I mean, you're not only getting good quality games, but you're getting a variety of games, too. I mean, like, the amount of variety that we're seeing on the Switch, too, is just unmatched. So many different franchises getting new games, new representation, and it's just kind of awesome. There's a little bit of something for everybody. They might be taking their time rolling out some of their big boys, you know? We're still waiting on 3D Mario, we're still waiting on Smash Brothers, probably gonna be waiting for a good long while on the next 3D Zelda game, whatever, what have you. But I don't know, in the meantime, I'm kinda just enjoying playing fun new games. Like, I can't say I've been just insanely hyped for every single release from them in the same way that I was for something like Donkey Kong Bonanza. Those games are kind of rare anyway to be like that excited about. But they are coming out, and when I pick them up to cover them for the channel, it's like, damn, this is pretty fun. Glad I got to experience it, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Anyway, I know, this video kind of just makes it sound like I have Nintendo's boot all the way in my mouth. I guess in a way, yeah, I mean, I guess that is kind of true. But I really just kind of wanted to emphasize how much I just kind of appreciate Nintendo's insistence on making good games and making games that are gameplay first. visual presentation and like cinematics and stuff like that, like they can be nice, don't get me wrong. I like a game with nice presentation, but Nintendo is weird and they make weird games with fun gameplay loops and hooks and things. There's nothing out there quite like Splatoon Raiders or Yoshi's Funny Book or hell, even Star Fox, you know? So whatever, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what else they have lined up for us in the future. I kind of hope that they do have like a big September Direct. This past June Direct I didn't think was very good. It was good for some people who like Fire Emblem and Xenoblade and like those kinds of games. Hey, you know what? I can't even knock those games. They're not for me. Does that really matter at the end of the day? There have been plenty of games that have come out this year that I thought were excellent from them. And I hope that fans of Xenoblade and Fire Emblem have their fun with those games when they release later this year. I think they're releasing this year. I actually don't know. Fire Emblem at least is. Anyway, oh, it's getting hot as hell in this office. I don't have my fan on. I always turn it off before I start recording, so that way there's not a whole bunch of like feedback into the microphone. I feel like I'm I'm out of town this week. I recorded this last week. I'm talking to you from the past right now, actually. So this is probably all you're gonna see from me this week. But this is just something I wanted to talk about because, like, again, in a world of gaming and with an industry on fire, it's like totally imploding in on itself. This is like the 7 millionth time I've said this. I appreciate games. I appreciate good games. Oh boy, okay, anyway, yeah. So how are you guys feeling about Nintendo's lineup from this year now that a lot of their lineup is out and in our hands? Are you kind of like me, where, you know, you saw the lineup at the beginning of the year, looked at it and went, ew, but then ended up playing some of these games and were like, oh, hey, you know, that's not too bad. That's not too bad right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.